gentlemen, welcome back to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast. Once again, not only can you listen to this on Spotify and everywhere else you get your podcasts, but if you want to see mine and my guests' beautiful faces, you can obviously watch this and every episode of the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast on the Ringer Reality TV YouTube channel. So head over and hit the subscribe button, all right? And while you're at it, subscribe to my OnlyFans. Just kidding, I don't have one of those yet. But who knows, after today's episode, you never know. All right, I am all about trailblazing, all right? And I'm not talking about smoking pot on a trail, although that's fun as well. I'm talking about just blazing trails and not following the footsteps of others, but creating your own footsteps, all right? And I feel like I've been doing that for a long time, and I love to surround myself by people who do the exact same thing. It's really difficult to follow a path when there aren't any footsteps, and you got to make your own. So in the interest of talking about trailblazing this episode, I want to dive deep into a story of a trailblazing woman who has defined an era through sheer will, grit, determination, and excellence, if I may add. We're going to spotlight an icon, someone who, when the odds were stacked high and her back was against the wall, didn't just rise for herself, but she carried the weight of an era, represent an entire era of competition. And her story is one of resilience, passion, legacy, and burying hatchets. All right. Because up until, if you would have told me 6 months ago, hey, she's coming on your podcast, I would have never believed it. Yet here we are.
Yes,
all right?
we are.
So stay tuned, because we are about to uncover the remarkable journey of a legend whose triumphs echo in this episode on this podcast and will echo for generations to come. So,
wow.
From Road Rules, originally, where she made her debut, 8 seasons of the challenge, 2 challenge wins, but now making her debut on the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, the lovely Miss Rachel Cuckoo Kachu, Miss Robinson.
Oh, thank you.
Woo! Welcome.
Thank you, Johnny Bananas. Who would have thought here we'd be, you know?
Now, you also brought a friend along.
Absolutely. I don't go anywhere without my besties.
Now, is this because in case, things got chippy, you would have backup here, or?
I mean, you always want Tina to back you up.
Yeah.
So Tina's a great backup. I figured, you know what? Let me invite Tina over to the podcast because she's basically been, she's a standout on this one.
Yeah.
People are going nuts for her.
Honestly, I never thought that I would say it, but her and I obviously have had our, checkered past as well. We even had to dust up this season, but I've really come to adore and love Tina.
I know. I've watched it, and I think I've brokered it.
Yeah.
And I do kind of love it too.
This is the quietest I've ever heard her, though. Tina, what's gotten into you?
Tina.
We haven't heard one fucking bro. Actually, we have her mic muted because her volume levels would be too high.
It's true.
It's funny because Rachel and I, a lot of people don't know this, we started off our reality TV journey together on the island, which I still to this day say is my darkest days.
Yeah.
And we obviously weren't working together. We were kind of at odds that season, to the point where it was so bad kind of under the surface that even when Abram basically begged.
And I was only one vote away from pulling that off.
I know.
Because that's how fucking good I am. I was literally I don't care that Abe wants to go home and is volunteering to go home and wants us to vote for him. We are voting for Johnny.
Dude, and it almost, Tyree's the one that
Ryan too.
Was it Ryan too?
Ryan, I remember that. I'm pretty sure Ryan was,
Okay.
And I was, but listen, what was I going to say? We've come a long way. Yeah, we've come a long way. And honestly, one of the things I like to point out is that with each season that we do, and with us being as seasonal vets as we are, you really do have to pivot and shift. And every game brings its own element. And I think that all the games we played prior to this season we were never aligned because the game didn't align us. It was like, it was either, you know, the island was like, what was that? We didn't even have challenges. It was just like sitting around and we didn't even know what was going on.
It was also, I think I wasn't ready to be in a mature, an adult relationship then. I really wasn't. That was like, I think it was my 3rd season of the challenge. I was a 24-year-old, you know,
and you were so
idiot.
hungry.
I was so hungry.
You were so hungry. And I, you know what, listen, one of the things that I will say about you, and I'm not going to toot your horn too much, but there is something to be said for you, because no matter how many times you get hit, you will always get back up and step back into the arena. And, you know, it is quite amazing to watch it through the years because, listen, I definitely after, what was it, X's. Oh, you broke my heart on X's. You really did.
Why?
Because I just like, I wanted that one kind of, but I also like, you know, you ran the house so much that season and it just, you know, when it just kills you, when your arch nemesis has just got all the power all the time.
Yep.
And, you know, and then at the end, I think there's always been a love kind of hate relationship with us when it came to the challenge. On this one, I was so thankful to be able to kind of play with you because it was something I've always kind of in the back of my mind. It was like a coming full circle therapy thing for me. But with exes.
So you're saying you've always wanted to play with me?
I have. I mean, I kind of.
Feelings mutual.
I kind of feel like it would be such a powerhouse if we did join forces. And unfortunately, in the past, we never were able to because the game just didn't let us. I mean, on X's, it was kind of hard. It was a very toxic environment as far as I'm concerned because it was X's. So it was all these guys that kind of didn't want to be partners with their women anyway. And then it was me and Anissa kind of living alone in an island. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It just didn't even really make that much sense. Yeah. So there was only so much power I could gauge with, you know, with what I was handed. Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of frustrating for me. And, you know, I kind of left that one. And I remember feeling like a little bit, you know, down about it. And this was really a coming of age for me. This was really like coming back, being a much more in my, you know, comfortable in my skin woman. Yeah. And coming back to the show and facing you and facing, you know, people like even Emily and all these people that kind of through the years, you know, kind of had the upper hand, you know, and it was like coming back and saying, you know what, here I am. I'm ready to stand on my own 2 feet and I'm ready to like play this game the way that I know I can play it. Reestablish the dominance that you created early on. Because let's be real, Rachel. I mean, you, Veronica, Tina, you know, Beth, you know, even Tanya, it's like you guys were the OG, like original. I know they call you guys mean girls, and I think there's like a sort of like a negative connotation. I don't see it that way. I felt like you guys were like the you guys were like the Rat Pack. I agree. You guys were the Rat Pack for women. You know what I mean? And you guys had, I remember, this is before I did the challenge. I remember watching you guys and being like, not only you guys all like super hot, but you guys were also just like so like dominant. I even thought, I was like, dude, if I ever went on a show, I wouldn't want to mess with this group. And like we also have nice feet. And do you all have nice feet? It's really true. Like Veronica too. Like me, like it's like we're all have nice feet. That's the only reason I accepted you. Pretty much that was really why. But no, I mean, listen, I think this show, and I really do believe this, Battle of the Eras is so special because what it really is kind of showing us at this point is that Era 1, although we do have the Derricks and the Mark Longs and, you know, the absolute powerhouses from the men, but it was built on the women's back. Yeah. And I think it was meant to be that there would be one single woman left. I feel like after you go into Era 2, it did become kind of like a boys' club. I think Era 2 kind of... Okay. Not a club I wanted to be a part of. Well, listen, you were in it. I was in it, not by choice. You were in it. That was like you know what I felt like Era 2 was? Era 2 was like the high school reunion you don't want to go to, but you kind of have to. You know what I mean? The interesting part is that looking back at it now and having known you the way I know you now, it's like, thank goodness we were left with you because you really are a good guy. And, you know, sometimes you tweet like the evil you know is better than the evil you don't know. Well, that is absolutely true. I will take you over the Era 3 or Era 4s any day of the week. Do you know? You know what I feel like it is? Because I've had this happen with multiple cast members. I mean, me and CT beefed for years, right? Yeah. Wes, I don't need to even, you know,
relitigate our storied rivalry. We didn't get along for years. But it wasn't until I feel like there's maybe a parallel or similarity to our relationship as well, mine and yours, where when we're still the family that's there, you're going to keep fighting with your siblings, right?
Yeah.
But then when I felt like this new influx of a more annoying family started, it was like the stepbrothers and sisters coming in.
Yeah.
Now you're like, you know what? Yeah, I know my blood relatives are annoying, but they're nowhere near as annoying as this, this second family I have. And it almost pushed. I remember one of the main reasons I buried the hatchet with Wes is I'm like, Wes, we built this, right? We have carried this show. We have, but we keep going at it with each other.
Yeah.
And all that's doing is making the game easier for them.
People.
I don't know how many of these we got left.
Yeah.
But that was
Johnny's
together.
line 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know. Well,
we're still riding on that one.
Still riding.
I'm not sure. I got to take this money and run because this one might be my last.
I don't know how many more of these I got in me, Cage. All right, so I got to take the money and run. But also, I think, when was it? I forget which season it was after. You were on a FaceTime with Anissa and we hadn't talked in a long time.
That was Ride or Dies.
Was that Ride or Dies?
Yeah, that was Ride or Dies.
I remember you guys were FaceTiming.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seen each other in a long time.
Yeah.
So we FaceTimed for a second. And I was like, oh, that went better than I had expected.
The thing is that we've always gotten along outside of the show, even at, Dan's wedding.
Yeah.
We would run into each other. I remember through the years. And I honestly did think in my head, I like you. I've always liked you. But the game... And this actually, one of the things I wanted to point out is that one of the things I'm proud of in terms of the two of us and kind of our story arc is that we were able to pivot and, adjust, right, to the game. We realized early on, okay, listen, we are on an island on Era 2 and Era 1.
Yep.
Women and men are going to help each other in this game. Let's start helping each other, right? The problem I see with the Era 3 especially is that they haven't pivoted. They're still stuck in a numbers game. They're still stuck thinking that the Vacation Alliance is going to be what saves them. They don't realize this is actually not a majority game.
It's not.
It's and that was the benefit to all of us.
Yeah.
Because only two people had power. And that was it. And it was proven over and over again. You had your entire team wanting you guys to save us, that one challenge. And guess what? You saved Era 3. Why? Because Laurel wanted it, right? So it was like, that's how this game was going. And, it's just interesting because, when, especially Devin, I mean, let's just go there. But when Devin is kind of explaining his case to Josh and how we're going to slowly start picking them off if, they have a crack, if there's a crack in the tile, between them. And I'm like, Devin, Era 2 saved Era 3.
Yeah.
First off, and Johnny was a part of that.
Yeah.
So you're not, your whole,
premise.
Your whole manipulation right now doesn't even actually work because you're actually not even saying the facts. And really all Josh is doing is trying to play his game.
Yeah. Devin, I think a lot of times facts are like
secondary,
a stranger to Devin and his game.
Yeah.
He'll basically create whatever narrative he wants, and then he'll then do like this revisionist history where then he'll make up facts or make up numbers or make up events to basically support this narrative that he created.
Absolutely.
I've seen him do it so many times, but what's crazy is the amount of people that it actually works on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've seen that.
Well, it's because he toots his own horn so much. I mean, if I heard one more time in the house that he thought he had the highest IQ, I was like, I'm good, Devin.
Yeah.
Meantime, you absolutely strategically embarrassed yourself. Like, we can talk about it because it's after this episode, right? So like, we can go there. I mean, I remember watching that and just being like, first off, I remember getting ready for the hanging challenge. And I remember hearing,
let's go to that
I remember
first.
them hearing, because I knew strategically that whoever was going to be in my position in the shipping container was going to have the best chance of staying up the longest, right? So when I realized that they put all of their faith in Devin in that spot.
And Jordan.
Yeah, but they put Jordan on the other side of the wall. And it was not,
walk us through that, because obviously, okay, before we even get to the container challenge, we're showing up, and I think everyone there was racking our brains, and we're like, all right, they have to create a challenge for you for the game where it could be won by a solo competitor, right?
Yeah.
So when we showed up and we saw what it was, and it was hanging from a container, and we didn't get a chance to see like what the handhold and the footholds were going to be before. Yeah. Knowing that it was all on your shoulders.
This is a very strategic challenge.
And seeing the other teams, were you kind of worried that it's like, oh, we're going to have to do these math equations? They have all this extra help. It's going to be more difficult for me because I'm going to have to solve these math equations by myself, and that then is going to determine my position. I didn't think that at all. Okay.
I heard the rules and I was like, thank you very much. Right. First off, I'm very good with math, but I also knew I only needed 4 rights in order to have every appendage covered, right? Like I only need 4.
Yep.
So when I got 6, I was like, okay, great. There was a lot of strategy in this in the sense that they allowed the targets, which they don't show on the episode, but the targets go into the shipping container, and based on the amount of pegs that you are allotted, you picked which ones you got, right? So right off the bat, this is a strategic challenge. Yeah. What I did when I went in there, which I actually couldn't believe, is that there was no 4 that were close to each other. There were no 4 that were like a good, peg. So I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I had 6 to play with. I said, I'm going to pick the 3 on this side and the 3 on this side. And when I'm in the shipping container, I'm just going to decide which one. And literally as the thing is going up, I was going, this one, this one, this one. I mean, it was till the last second. And I said, you know what? Because I think one was 2 feet and 1 hand, and one was 2 hands and 1 feet. And I said, okay, you know what? Now, in my 20s, when I lived in New York City, I got into rock climbing a lot. I used to go to Chelsea Piers every weekend.
I love Chelsea Piers.
Yeah. And I'd rock climb. I'd even go out. I started going upstate New York, and I started rock climbing outdoors. So for me, I'm very comfortable on a rock wall. Also, for those of you that don't know your challenge history, Battle of the Sexes 2, I won a hanging challenge from a boxing. Run the tape, baby. Run the tape.
Run it.
So I basically won. We had to hang on to like a boxing bag, AKA Rumble, you know?
Yep.
And you had to hang as long as you could. So I love a last man standing. To me, last man standing has always been, I've always been in the top tiers of last man standings. I knew each era who had to fall in order for me to win. And I knew it had to be Casey, it had to be Jordan, and probably Nehemiah. If I were to just stack up the teams and say, okay, who do I see being the best in their era at this specific thing?
No, I agree. That's why we gave Nehemiah the most, because we had a choice. And I was like, listen, Nehemiah, I think out of all the challenges we've done, this is your moment to shine. You're like a yogi. Like, this is what you do.
Yeah.
So, and
he was.
Like,
And just so that the viewers also, and everyone who watches this podcast actually know this, there was absolutely zero suspense in who won that. The only thing we were waiting for was who lost it.
Exactly.
We knew. And it's funny because they used Devin's soundbite trying to give himself a little bit more credit that, we didn't know like exactly who's going to take this one because it's so hard to tell. Oh, no, we knew exactly. You and 4 shit the bed.
Yeah.
So there was no doubt that 4 and 3 were neck and neck for who was going into the arena. And there was also no doubt that I had won that.
There was no doubt. So Rachel had lunch up. Like, I think we took a nap. Like, we were literally, she was in the container. Here's the other thing that I give you credit for. Before, it's scary because they bring you into a dark box. They give you a few seconds to figure out where your handholds are going to be with light. And then they shut the container and you can't see shit.
I know.
And then they were like, what we're going to do now is we are going to blow the horn. And you have 5 seconds?
I mean, the scary part was that I was first.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, with a team in the container going last after we'd already seen this, I was stressed. I'm like, I can't imagine what it must have been like to be first, to be in this container by yourself, not knowing if you were going to be able to get on the wall, having, again, all of the pressure and all of the weight of the game on your shoulders. Not just your game, but again, your era.
Yes.
There was so much. And I think that's what separates, and this goes in any sport. What separates the good from the greats is the ones that can show up and show out when the lights are the brightest and the pressure is the greatest. And the pressure didn't get any bigger, and it was win or go home.
I agree. And you know what? I also think it's also important to just recognize that you've got to be crazy enough to believe you can do it.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, even from the second that they told me go back up to the podium, you're now a solo mission. I was excited.
Yeah.
I was like,
cool.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do this. Like, tell me what we're going to do, you know? And looking back and, you know, when I watch it back, I'm like, you are out of your mind.
Yeah.
But in the moment, and even to this day, if you were to put me back in the situation, I would say, you know what? I want that challenge. I want that on my shoulders. I want that moment.
And that's why you are who you are, because, and this is what I feel like, again, it's so clear right now. And it's clear, I feel like, on every season, there are so many people that are terrified to play the game on their own.
Yeah.
Or to go against the grain.
Yeah.
And if they see like where the numbers are, they love to, and they find comfort in numbers, and they find comfort in appeasing the machine.
Yeah.
And I've always found myself to be the exact opposite.
Me too.
And you are the same way.
Yes.
And that's why I feel like, and I never really, and this is another thing that like didn't dawn on me until this challenge, because they didn't show it, and it's one of the many things that they haven't shown, but this is the one that really fucking
play the violin
grinds
music,
my gears. Yeah,
violin. Play the violin.
Enter violin music.
They didn't show this moment from Johnny, but we're gonna get a lot.
Not from me, from us.
Oh yeah.
Because I saw this. Okay, prior to this season ever filming, Rachel actually came down to up to Boca to Rumble.
Yes.
Took a class together. We hadn't seen it. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go.
I know.
And it couldn't have gone any better.
I know.
And we talked then, and I'm like, Rachel, whatever's happened in the past, regardless of what's gone down on past seasons, like, we need to represent for the old guys and gals. And even though we didn't know what the era was going to be, I think I assumed that I was going to be on the old school era. I wasn't, but I always felt like we went in with a plan, went in with an agreement, but then it was about, and again, I've had to deal with this with Wes in the past. It's like, is this actually going to work? Yeah. Are we actually going to be able to stick to what we say? And it was this moment, because we had talked about it going into this challenge before we had known that you won, and then coming out of it, and you're like, we got to drop a bomb. Yeah, I got it. I know this is going to be the unpopular thing to do, but we got to drop a bomb. And I'm like, Rachel, if and when you do, like, you know that I've got your back. And it was, I feel like seeing you do it and seeing you actually go through with it, I'm like, all right, she's a real one.
Well, listen, here's the truth, and I also like to point this out, is that having support in the game, I don't need the masses. I need quality over quantity.
Yes.
So for me, my eyes and my support came mainly from you and Josh. And for me, that was what I needed in order to say, I don't give a shit about anything else. Like, I know I got you. I know I got Josh. I'm excited. They don't show this either, but there was a few times where I said, I might just flip the timer over and flip it back over and say, thanks for coming, Kylan and Casey, you're going in.
That would have been incredible.
But then I decided that I did want to get something out of it.
Yes.
And the main thing I did want to get out of it was Laurel telling me that she would have my back. And for me, that was important in this whole exchange, because she's a powerhouse, and I love two powerhouse women joining.
Me too.
If you look at my face when the two of us are chatting at the bar, you can tell that I'm just like, yes, Laurel, say it.
Yeah.
You know?
And who brokered that deal?
You did, Johnny. You came up to me, and I remember I said to you, I want Laurel to tell me that she has my back. And you said, I'm going to tell you something about Laurel. She's one of the most loyal players you will ever play with. And if she has your back, she's going to have your back. And I said, well, that's all I need to hear. So tell her to tell me that.
And she's cut from the same cloth that we are. And I know, oh, here we go again. I know I'm going to get all these messages on Twitter. Why do you stick up for Laurel? Whatever. She is, again, I think, cut from the same cloth.
Yes.
Where she doesn't give a fuck about going against the grain either.
The best part about Laurel is she fucking files her nails after people come for her.
Yes.
Like, she's don't give a fuck as an emoji. Like, she does not care.
Yeah.
And I happen to value that in Laurel, and I'm actually over the bandwagon that's all jumped on the back of the car to ride the coattails of the Hate Laurel train, because it's tired. It's none of you were saying anything when she was standing in front of you.
It's because it's trendy to do right now. And I see this, here's what I feel like especially cast members, but also a lot of these, fans out there. It's like what they want is they want attention and they want validation. And they want to feel like, again, I'm with the numbers. I'm doing the trendy, popular thing. And right now, the trendy and popular thing is to be on this hate Laurel bandwagon. And I'm like, guys, where was all this energy in past seasons, or where was all this energy before this season aired and on the actual season? Now it just seems like because that's the popular thing to do, everyone's jumping on it. Everyone but me. All right. That train has left the station and I am happy fucking hitching a ride on my own.
That's good. Listen, the truth is, and this is what people should realize out there that are listening to this podcast and watching it, is you want attention, you want to make a name for yourself, you think for yourself.
Yes.
And you go against the grain. Yeah. And granted, do I think, and I say it in the episode, do I love everything Laurel's done? Absolutely not. Do I think, both of these women will go nameless right now because we're so over it? But do I think they both feed into this rage fight they have all the time? Absolutely. I think this is a train that they both are jumping on every single time. Yep. And if one of them wants it to stop, and I've said this before, they need to cut it. They need to turn. They need to power off the train. It's not even a let me kind of be nice to you.
Yeah.
It's just don't acknowledge each other.
Yeah.
Go about your life, go about your business. And if somebody tries to poke the bear, don't even react. Yeah. And that's what I've told both of them.
Mm-hmm. I have too. It really is a antagonist, where, one needles and prods the other one until the other one flips out. And then, you just get these, like you said, these rage fights that continue to go on. And now you have, and this has been going on, people, this is nothing new. This has been going on for years. I don't understand why now all of a sudden it's a fucking surprise to everyone. But
both women are riding the limelight of it. Yeah. So let's also just pull that out, right?
Well, let's also say, what else would we be talking about if they guys?
This is the second season I've been on where this is the main storyline.
They're making great TV. I mean, it's making great TV. Yeah. This isn't real life. This is not real life. This is reality TV, people.
But but you know what? I happen to disagree with you on that a little bit. I know you look at it more as listen, the things you get into, you can kind of shrug off your shoulder. Yeah. I think with certain people, there are real emotions attached to this. And I think in this particular situation, it is not just a TV show. But I do think that we can all get past it.
I think that's because I'm a Gemini.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that has enabled me to be so successful on reality TV is I have the ability
to not give a fuck.
Well, to not give a fuck, but the reason I don't give a fuck is because one of the traits or one of the characteristics about Geminis is we're known as being two-faced.
Yes.
But instead of being two-faced, which I can also do, I feel like I'm just able to operate in two completely diametrically opposed worlds or universes that most normal human beings should not.
Yeah.
And be able to do it completely, seamless without being affected by.
Yeah. And you've mastered it.
So when I'm on reality TV, when I'm in the house, when I am filming, I've completely checked out of normal life.
I know.
I've completely
But you definitely got upset on this one. It's coming. It's coming.
That doesn't mean I don't have that doesn't mean that I don't have real emotions.
No, I know.
I'm just saying that once the camera stops, once we're done filming, whatever just transpired, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm over it. It's work. Yeah. I don't bring my work home with me.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. You win.
Mm-hmm.
Again, against all odds.
Yes.
You're the last one up there. Like you said, we all knew.
Everyone.
We all knew.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even close.
I knew. That's why if you watch me, I have such anxiety watching the other eras go because as soon as they dropped, I was like, okay, I'm not last place.
Yep.
Okay, I'm now definitely second place. And then once it was Nehemiah stressed me out a little bit, but once he dropped, I was like, okay.
And we didn't realize how impressive your performance was until we saw Era 3 go, because everyone's like, oh, dude, Jordan's going to be up there all day. And once he fell, we're like, dude. And then, you've got office body Devin, who's not going to last very long, so he didn't either. But it wasn't until then that we were like, holy shit, dude, she really did that. So we know you win. Did you know in that moment, did you know going in if you won the decision that you were going to make, or were you?
Yes.
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 I know it.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
That's
why I love you.
You think I'm going to turn on Era 2? Absolutely not. There was no doubt. I mean, I just wanted to hear what everyone had to say. And I also wanted Laurel to tell me that she was, going to have my back for the rest of the game. But by the way, like, why would I give Devin Ryan? I couldn't stand that guy.
Yeah.
Let's just.
Here's what I love. Going back to what we were saying about Devin, he sits there and he's talking about what you had mentioned before about, we're going to, take them apart piece by piece. But then he basically goes, anyone who is fucking or rocking with Banana Man ain't fucking with me. But then 2 seconds later, after Michelle goes, well, wait a minute, we're just supposed to become targets because of your vendetta? He goes, no, I'm not asking anyone to do shit. You're in a position where you have to choose. So that's exactly what you're doing. You're basically putting people, and this is exactly what I had told Michelle was going to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, Michelle, there is going to come a point where Devin is going to drive a wedge, even though now he's trying to turn the narrative around as if I'm driving a wedge in between the two of them.
I know.
That was my narrative.
I know.
I said that in the beginning. I said, Michelle, there's going to come a time when he is going to.
And actually, what you said was very real. You were like, listen, just be on the lookout.
Yeah.
It's your game to play. You two have had a checkered past. Just be careful.
But here's the other thing, though. Checkered past aside, Rachel, I felt like Devin and I came into this game kind of the same way that you did. Mm-hmm. We had our past issues.
Yeah.
We'd even worked on Total Madness. I mean, not Ride or Dies. We'd worked on that. So coming into this season, I'm like, all right, I don't have an issue with this guy. He had just come up him and Tori had just come up to Rumble, like we'd hung out.
Yeah.
But it was what they didn't show, and this didn't make the season, when he told me, drunk in a pool one night, hey, at the halfway point, I'm going to come after you.
Yeah.
We can have this expiration date on a deal that will last up into the halfway point, but after the halfway point, all bets are off.
Listen, this is what Devin did, which I just want to point out how strategically stupid he was, because I think it should be pointed out.
Please.
First off, he told you that, which is, why would you show someone your cards, right?
Exactly.
So first, rule of thumb, don't do that. Then he went into the deliberation with when Tina, and I believe it was CT, was in there. And he basically, in front of Tina and CT, said, Error 3 and Error 4 will work exclusively together moving forward if you don't send us in, right? Another thing you did, tell us your hand, right? Mm-hmm. I remember Tina walking out and being like, okay, that's it. It's Error 3 and Error 4. Now, granted, he made a promise his ass couldn't keep because the rest of his era was not on board with that. So we cut to, things happening down the road. Actually, I'm not sure if it was his era, but 4, right? 4 ends up saving you guys.
Yeah.
Instead of 3.
But that was because of that. But that had everything to do with Jenny.
I know.
And Josh, that had nothing. Here's the thing. You look at these
That's
eras,
why I'm saying.
Josh and Jenny, had it been different people on Era 4 that won, it would have been a different outcome.
Absolutely. But that's why this game is not numbers.
Exactly.
This game is connection.
Yes.
So that's what I was trying to explain to, Josh especially, because I want to see Josh win.
Me too.
I'm invested in him winning. So for me, I was like, listen, Josh, I'm going to tell you something. As a champion, as someone who's taken chances in this game, as someone who goes against the grain, don't follow this train to nowhere.
Yeah.
It's a numbers, they're stuck in the ride or dies number game.
Yep.
They're not adjusted to the fact, like Devin should have been kissing my ass, to be honest, if he was playing a smart game.
Because it's all about who the female.
I'm a target every single week now.
Yep.
I'm a target. And by the way, I think my track record thus far in the arena is showing that there's a pretty good chance I'm going to win and then pick targets.
And this is why, and you could not be more right. And this is, again, what separates out the goods from the greats is it's all about adaptation.
Yes.
I never go on to a season with a plan. I'm like, this is how I'm going to play. This is what I'm going to do. This is, the people I'm going to rock with, because you don't know who's going to be there.
Yes.
You don't know what the format of the game is going to be. You don't know how voting's going to go.
Yeah.
It's all about adapting and adjusting on the fly. And you're right. It's like they were playing a different game this season.
Yeah.
And you could have I could have had every guy in the house on my side. What does that do for me?
Exactly.
And vice versa. And
it does something for me.
Yeah, well, for you.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you having all the girls on your side doesn't necessarily help you.
Exactly.
And the fact that they didn't realize that, and they just thought that just because they had all these numbers in their vacation alliance, that's what was going to take them to the end. And it's like,
it is laughable.
It's so bad.
Honestly, let this episode go down in history, because let's be honest, America, your savior came.
Yeah.
And it was me.
Yeah,
it is me.
Yeah.
Because I basically delivered what fans of this show have been waiting for. And let's not also, it's just should be pointed out that, this whole Casey and Josh thing too. Josh is not a target with Casey, which is their plan, right? They always want to be targets together because they feel that they can keep each other safe and, they like working together, right? The only reason that Josh is not a target with Casey is because I picked targets. And I said to Josh, over no exception will you volunteer because there is zero chance that I'm going to pick you.
Yeah.
And so Josh is only not a target with Casey because I did that.
Yeah.
So why? It was just like watching Devin give and all these people kind of give Josh this ultimatum.
It was ridiculous.
Of tell me to go fuck off.
Here's what it was. I think more than anything, it's because they realized at that point how sloppy their game and their strategy had been. So it's almost like they weren't just taking it out on Josh that he was in a safe position. They were taking it out on Josh that it's like, we put ourselves here. And it was almost as if it was like, it's his fault that you guys are now in a position where you guys have your backs up against the wall. And now you're going to make it out like, Josh, if you don't save us, if you don't go to Rachel, and if you don't get us, you're not our friends. You're not part of the club.
Yeah.
You're out of the cool kids club.
And it's like, have you not met me?
Yeah.
Like, there is about 0.0 chance that Josh is going to come and say anything to me that's going to make it more advantageous than to see Casey and Devin go home.
I want to play, going back to that, I want to play a little soundbite from Jordan here, because this kind of goes to what you're saying. He's the one that kind of surprised me too, because listen, Jordan of all people, like,
this is a real podcast right here. This is like real. You guys want to know the shit? Like, this is real.
Well, I'm just saying, Jordan of all people, for him to then, because he at this point, if anyone's playing all fucking sides, if anyone's just floating through and kind of has everyone's back and everyone has, it's him. So it's almost like, Jordan, maybe you should sit this one out.
Yeah.
Because you're not at risk.
Yeah.
You're good. You're chilling. Like, let whatever happens. You don't need to throw your opinion out. This is what he said, and I want to get your take on this, because this is basically him critiquing the decision that you're going to have to make.
I've seen this, yeah.
If I'm Rachel, I'm looking at this as what nets me the most benefit. Now, Laurel probably doesn't have Rachel's back. Rachel and Ryan have a good relationship, but how much power can Ryan really gain throughout the game to actually help you? Rachel, you've literally got a smart move in front of you by gaining the trust of eras 3 and 4. We will have your back.
I think the whole...
All right. This is for starters. Jordan, the only reason that your ass didn't go in to the elimination against Horacio is because Laurel basically was like, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
She was willing to stalemate for him.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I know.
So after she goes to bat for you, you're then going to turn around in this position and then try and convince you that that's a better route to go. And here's the way that I saw it. Again, it's like this strength in numbers thing. And this is, eagles fly alone, pigeons flock together. 3 and 4. I'm sorry, you're all fucking pigeons.
Yeah.
You looked at it as, yes, but
not Jenny. Let's point out that Jenny is such a standout.
She's such a badass.
On her era, because she just went against the grain in every way she could. Yeah. And she never gave a fuck.
Yeah.
If there's anyone who doesn't give a fuck, it's Jenny.
She has no other choice.
But she also has this view of the game that's so kind of nice and refreshing, because she's just like, I don't care. I'll come move over to your side of the house.
Yeah.
Like, I'm your friend. Like, I'll hang out with you guys.
Again, she is a lone wolf. I love lone wolves.
Yeah.
Mostly because I have to be when I have no other option. That's why I love when people are like, oh, Johnny's he's just mad because for once he doesn't have control of the game. Do you know how long it's been since I've been in a position where I had control of a game?
Yeah, we're talking since era 2.
Dude, I can't remember when the last season I was on where I was like running shit out of control of the game. It's me fighting my fucking way out every season, but I digress. My point is, you have 3 and 4 who are both convincing you, hey, the better option is to throw in Ryan and Laurel because, hey, if we win, then, we're going to be able to repay the favor.
Who cares about that?
Look at your guys' ranking of who's got who's back. Where would you have been on Tori and Devin's list as far as who they were protecting, you would have been damn near at the bottom.
Exactly.
Whereas if you look at Laurel, Laurel doesn't have anyone.
I know.
And this is the case that I made to you when we were out at the bar. And again, I wish they would have showed it, but they didn't. I was like, because you were like, John, Bananas, the only thing that is holding me back from throwing in 4 against 3 is I just need to make sure that Laurel is going to have my back when push comes to shove. And I was like, 100%, I will make sure you guys have that conversation, because if you save her, then guess what? You're number 1 on arguably like one of the strongest girls.
Absolutely. And I knew that.
Alliances in the house,
at my face
as opposed to being 4 on the other 2.
And I also just side note, like, and this just comes to Jordan. This just kind of goes back to Jordan. As a man in the game, there is no player in that game that says, you know what? You lose Ryan instead of Kylan or Devin.
Yeah.
Like, it was and that's what I kind of was saying to Josh at one point. When Josh was trying to change my mind, I was like, Josh, stop thinking about this and worrying about 3 people who have already won. Yeah. Casey, Devin, and Tori. Yeah. Stop worrying about these people. And what is best for your game right now? Is it best that Kylan or Devin go home? Or is it best that Devin stays and Ryan goes home?
The old layup card.
And
everyone knows I will never be the guy. I love when guys say this. Oh, I want to get rid of the weakest ones because I want to run against the strongest in the final. No, you don't. I want to run a final against all. Like, at this point, especially in my career, I'm like, dude, I want Derek there with 1 leg. Like, that's who I want to run a final against. CT with no back.
Listen, I'm not saying that Ryan could not have beat Devin in that, because he did an absolutely terrible performance. Have I said that yet?
It couldn't have been any worse.
Have I said that yet?
Jesus.
Because it was like watching someone who has absolutely zero strategy try to figure something out. And it was almost like shocking, because if you live with Devin, he is such his own cheerleader. Yep. Like, my IQ is so great. I'm the best at this. I'm the best at that, you know?
Ryan reminds you a little bit of Wes, doesn't he?
And like, I hope he enjoys the rest of the season playing Monopoly at home, you know?
Here's what's so funny about Devin too, is this guy literally is even, and here's how either delusional or just like, how delusional the guy is. Even when he has no strategy and his strategy is clearly losing, he's trying to convince you that, no, that's the strategy. Yeah. In a game where you need to unravel those cords as fast as you possibly can, somehow he's trying to convince you that, no. Slow and steady wins this race.
Or like one plug at a time. Like, he didn't get that you had to do both sides. Anyway, my point is that Ryan probably could have won. But the point is that was clearly the best choice for every man in the game, including Jordan. Yeah. And that's why a comment like that kind of falls on deaf ears for me, because it's like, well, aren't you playing this game? I mean, I know that I would love, for me, Casey or Tori going, I had a win-win situation no matter which way this broke down. It was either Laurel and Tori or Casey and Tori. And there was really, I mean, you can't get a better person on their way out, right? But for me, I do think that Casey leaving was my best shot, because if you put the 2 of us up against each other, we're both very athletic.
Yeah, and your guys' skill sets are in the exact same place.
Exactly. So I knew at that point, and it's crazy because when going into the challenge and looking at the women targets, I knew whoever made it out of this was going to be okay for a little while, maybe a little while. You know, it was like one of those things where you were like, this is the one. Yeah. This is the one. Yeah. And, you know, I have to say that I think, you know, when I went into that deliberation, Casey tried to sell me on the fact that, like, she would have my back. And I said to her, Casey, you haven't been a target in 8 challenges.
Wait, I thought it was more because you guys had an unspoken alliance because of your friendship with Josh.
Yeah, which now they want Josh to cut that relationship
And here's what I love is when people do that. This is kind of, I feel like, what, in a way, Carl was trying to do with me in the beginning of the season. Because I was cool with Pauly, then that means that her and I are cool. But then what happens is, by doing that, Casey then would have had the opportunity later on in the game, had this situation ever taken place, where she could have had no problem throwing you in. Yeah. Because you guys never had a conversation, right? Yeah. But relying on the fact that it's like, oh, well, because you're friends with Josh, that basically then means that we are in an alliance unspoken, because, you know, that just transfers over to us.
Well, one of the things they also don't show in my conversation with Casey is I said to her, listen, Casey, like, you're sitting here talking to me, but like, there's a 0 chance that you and Tori weren't saving each other. So you're asking me to save you now, but there was in no way, no world was this set up where either one of you were going to save me.
No.
So
hell no.
And that was kind of like what I was pointing out, but I don't know, listen, I think there's a big difference, and I really do believe this, and I notice it now more than ever. Like, Big Brother players I remember when I was talking to Kylan, and he's like, listen, when I was on Big Brother, like, ask anybody. I had this group of alliance and we rode it to the end. And I wanted to look at him and be like, I'll tell you what, the last thing you want to tell me when you're negotiating with me is mention Big Brother. Like, I kind of wanted to say that. Like, let me tell you, like, your negotiation should never start with on Big Brother.
Yeah.
So, I just feel like these players come in with such a different mentality. I don't even watch it, so I don't really know how it works, but I assume that it's just all about numbers because they are so obsessed with it.
It's not just about numbers. Here's what it's also about. You can say whatever you have to in order to, like, keep your ass on safe, because with Big Brother, once that season's done, you could have lied the entire season and you don't have to see these people again.
Yeah.
The challenge, Big Brother, I feel like everything's done in the shadows.
Yeah.
Everything's done in secret.
Yeah.
Challenge, everything kind of has to be done out in the open.
Yeah.
Because it is going to be exposed.
Absolutely.
The chickens will come home to roost. Even if you get one over on me this season, you lie to me this season, guess what? Now from every season from here on out, I'm never going to trust you. And there's going to be a carryover effect. So that's the way that they play. They play a very, but
I think Kylan was, honestly, I think to his defense, I do think he was being real. I mean, I do think, listen, when I tell you that negotiation, the chamber, remember the transferables?
Yes.
Like, there was a whole bunch of, like,
They didn't show that, right?
No.
Talk about the transfer. Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
Transferable.
We're not there yet. We'll get to there in a second.
Okay.
Because I completely forgot about that. Again, here's the other thing that always confuses me. If you want to make a case to me as to why I should save you, don't tell me you've already got a bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
Because then that makes me question, all right, well, if you've already got all these people you're protecting, where does that put me? Yeah. It's almost better to be like, I got nobody.
Yeah.
I'm naked and afraid.
Yeah.
Which again, and that's why I think for me, it was so gratifying to me to see you and Laurel obviously, like, work together, is because
I respect Laurel a lot.
She truly didn't have anyone that had her back. And, obviously you lost your entire era. So then she actually had a legitimate deal and a legitimate offer that she could make you. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, she could honestly say, like, I have your back because I don't have anyone else's. Yeah. And again, it just kind of goes along with, this whole idea of, when you're playing this numbers game and you're playing with a lot of people, while that protects you early on, and that's good protection early, as the game goes on, now you've got all these deals and all these people that you have to look out for. Yeah. And had this vacation alliance not, they would have had a much better argument for why you should have saved them.
I mean, had somebody been able to tell me, listen, I'll put you as my number one, but, like, to go into a negotiation and just, like, say, brother, I love you the whole time. That wasn't going to work for me. Like, brother, I love you. I love you. I'm like, I'm so happy, brother. Yeah. But, like, brother, you're going in.
Timing. It's all about timing.
Yeah.
And again, it's like if you wait until your ass is on the line to start making these deals and having these conversations, fucking too little too late.
And that was my point. I mean, that was my point. If I were playing the game and I wasn't myself, I would have been up my ass because I was going to be a target every single challenge. And that gives me so much power. So it's like, why were you not having those conversations with me?
For all of these players and, the Devins, the Tories that love to hang their hat on the I play chess, not checkers. I'm thinking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. This was the easiest thing to see, which is why when Tori made me a target at the end of this the end of this episode with Ryan and Derek, I'm like, did you not think that I would? I mean, you put me in a very good position. Yeah. Right? If you're going to put me in a position where you basically put me in a position where there's a very good chance now that I am going to win and I'm going to come for your head. So, okay. Everybody now.
Gets good, guys. It gets good.
Everyone now hates Josh, which again,
I don't like this narrative.
I don't either.
Like, why? I don't understand. Like, what is the internet? Who are the people making comments? Because this should be a season where people are. The only thing I wish Josh didn't do, which obviously is the case, is cry at the end. Because I just wish he would be like, yo, I'm playing my game and this is the way I'm going to play. And of course, I'm going to have Casey's back because she's my girl and I'll never not have her back. But she put herself into this situation.
Yeah.
I didn't do this. And if I've got Rachel in my corner, guess what? That's a great move for me. Like, I'm setting up myself to win.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I wish his final goodbye would have been.
Josh was actually supposed to be here today instead of Tina. Tina was a last minute addition. We actually wanted Josh to come in because I feel like I know, but for this, because I feel like he's gotten so much unfair criticism. First with Corey, why is it always up to him to make these decisions? It was Josh's fault that Corey got thrown in, not Corey's own fault for trying to knock Theo in. Okay?
Yeah.
So that was Josh's fault. And now here we are again. It's now Josh's fault once again.
I think Josh is
not convincing you to throw us in instead of Era 4.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've picked up on the season is that Josh is not the best at defending himself. Yeah. And I think that people take advantage of that.
They totally do.
And so, like, all Josh had to say when, especially Michelle and Devin and all of them are kind of coming at him for not changing my mind, which nobody is changing my mind. But all he had to say was, listen, I got to play my game. Rachel's a good friend of mine. I know she has my back. She's a target every single week. I'm sorry, but this is the game.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't make you guys lose.
Yeah.
I'm only not a target because she didn't make me a target. I would have been in there with Casey. Granted, would have been not ideal for me, but And
there was also the time when Josh had won. Okay, Josh and Jenny won, and they were all basically Era 4 and 3 was trying to convince Josh to throw me in.
Yes.
And he once again was like, how does this benefit my game? This benefits your game. And Michelle, had this big, diatribe she went on about, Josh not having the balls or whatever. And it's like, it's much easier if you want a big move to be made, to try and convince somebody else to make the move and have the blood on their hands than not on yours. And I feel like that's what continues to happen. And Josh somehow continues to be the fall guy. It's like, I think the fact that he keeps getting put in this position just goes to show what a great social game he has.
I love him.
Because all of these people that everyone else has issues with, he's fine with.
Yeah. No, listen, there's a reason why Josh is on season after season. He is absolutely an amazing person to be around.
Yeah.
And, I trusted him 100%. So that's all I can say. I don't understand why people aren't seeing through some of the BS interviews that people are trying to throw out there to kind of throw him under the bus, because it doesn't even make sense. And everyone should be there to win.
Yeah.
Everyone should be there to want themselves to win. And there is no world in which the better option for any man in that game, again, would have been a Ryan versus Derek. Devin. Ryan versus Devin. It was always Kylan versus Devin.
Yeah.
Like, that was the game move there for the guys. And, I think that if you watch closely to the season, like, you can actually physically see Michelle getting manipulated. Like, it is kind of crazy. Like, you can actually physically see it because she's such a strong woman and I absolutely love her. And I knew as soon as he was gone, at least she could think for herself, at the very least. Mm-hmm. At the very least, she could play the game the way she wants to and
not play his game.
Exactly, and maneuver herself. Whichever way she decides to do it from this point moving forward, fine. But I was just happy to release that grip from so many people.
Yeah.
Granted, you guys will all see how strong that grip is.
It's great.
But
it's like running a game from the grave.
I, for one, looked at it as a game move, and I was like, and you always say this, which is very true, you take the head of the snake. Right? Or, and he is the head of the snake.
Yeah.
So you take that one off and then hopefully the rest can kind of figure it out.
What's crazy though is he is the head of the snake, yet he has people convinced that like he's not, or what he's he basically likes to, and a lot of people do this, like to make it out like, oh, well, you know, you're only out for yourself and you're only playing your game. So anyone that's working with you, if they're not playing your game, then you want nothing to do with them. That's not how I play. I literally in this game, I'm like, listen, if you're working with me, fine, but I'm not going to tell you to not work with this other person if it benefits your game.
Exactly.
He's the exact opposite. He's like, this is my game. This is how I'm going to play it. Any enemies I have need to be your enemies as well, even if you're friends with them.
And I think that shows.
Yeah.
I think that it shows, and I think it's unfortunately, hopefully, you know, maybe he'll learn from it, maybe he won't, but it's definitely not a good look.
Yeah.
It's not a good look. And, you know, I think that, you know, like I said, I hope he enjoys the rest of the season playing Monopoly with his family at home, you know?
Dude, that was terrible performance. All right. So in the chamber, again, and this didn't, and this didn't show, but I think this is again, what separates new school from old school.
Mm-hmm.
My thing was always like, and still is to this day, and maybe this is just because I'm part of a, you know, different generation.
Mm-hmm.
If we make a deal, we have an alliance, there's no expiration date.
No.
It's not transferable.
No.
This is my deal with you, and we're gonna
ride it out.
Stay true to it and ride it out as long as we can.
Yeah.
And you just gotta hope when push comes to shove, you chose the right horses. You're never gonna be able to have all your bases covered. You just have to know that when the time comes, that you have positioned yourself in the best position you can to win.
Absolutely.
There's no certainties in this game or in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's death, taxes, and bananas.
Yeah.
But in this situation, what the fuck was I saying? Where was I going with that?
The transferables.
Okay. So now you have Era 3 and Era 4, who Devin created or Wes kind of did, but Devin has perfected the art of the expiring deal. Where, hey, let's make a deal for 1 week or one challenge or half a season, but then it expires. We can renew the deal, but you know, there's an expiration date on it.
Yeah.
Kyle and Kim was something completely new I've never even heard of. And what was this?
Both of them. It was both of them, actually. So in the chamber, when we sat down, which this was something that just like blew my mind. And I actually didn't even understand. I still, after they explained it to me, I still didn't understand
the art of the transferable deal.
But basically, I guess in whatever deal it was, right, when Kylan doesn't send Devin and Tori in, I guess they make a deal, right? So basically what they were offering me is that if I did not send in Kylan and Casey, that Kylan's deal with Devin would now transfer to me. So not only would I have a deal now with Kylan and Casey, but now I'd have a deal with Devin and, well, Tori I already like. Tori and I have a friendship. So she's kind of like, her and Josh to me are kind of like
outliers.
Yeah, they're kind of different. I don't really love to kind of bulk them all in. To me, there was one true person enemy that I needed to get out. And to me, that was Devin. But as far as like everyone else, they were just unfortunately attached. And, you know, and I really did. And when you see this is my best friend and that's really how I felt. Yeah. I felt getting out people would then position me in a better place in the game. But anyway, they offer me this transferable deal. And I honestly, at the end of that, like looked at everyone, including you, but also like just producers and production and being like, what the fuck was that? Like, it was so weird. I couldn't believe that they even tried to sell me on like a transferable deal that would, and the fact is also, it was just like, it just would never work because there are just so many people in that deal that who knows where I lined up on the deal. Like, you're going to tell me, Devin, that you're going to save me over Michelle?
Yeah.
If I get this transferable deal?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
And the fact that a deal either expires or has the ability to be transferred just goes to tells me that it's fucking a weak deal.
It was weird. But listen, I very much enjoyed everyone telling me everything they wanted to. And my mind was made up the second TJ said, Rachel, fitness, people need to build like you, Rachel, fitness. Yeah. I mean, as soon as he said that, I mean, it's really true. If you look at me, I'm laughing because I'm just like, one, you almost can't believe it. You know, it's almost one of these things where you can't even believe it. And that's why I really have been saying this. And that's why I really do hype the challenge up, because you just don't get moments like this in other TV shows. No. You don't. And this is a real moment. This is a real moment of our era absolutely being annihilated one at a time, never having an arena off, everyone just kind of picking us off.
Injuries,
and then injuries, anything that could have went wrong for us went wrong. And then just me standing there alone and like taking out the Vacation Alliance. Like you couldn't have written that. Even if the producers wanted to, they couldn't have written that.
Reality is stranger than fiction.
Yes.
And that, we all thought that. I remember going in, when we saw that you won, it's like, okay, not only did she win as a solo female on the era that has been completely dismantled, but now she has the opportunity to single-handedly make the big, because if think about it, had Tori and Devin not volunteered themselves, and had Hallen and Casey not volunteered themselves, like it was just the perfect aligning of stars, because had anyone else volunteered themselves,
volunteering is a loose term, though, because let me just tell you, I was picking the targets that day, and there was zero chance I wasn't picking Devin.
Yeah.
So when he volunteered, I was like, sure, I'll honor your volunteer. But by the way, you were going to be a target anyway.
Oh, and let's also, while we're on this topic, Ryan, the only reason Ryan volunteered is because he knew that he was getting picked too.
Yeah, well, I basically, and this is actually a good thing. I mean, it's kind of a behind the scenes that I think is kind of important, right? I told Ryan that, you know, listen, at that point, I had built a relationship with you, and there was zero chance that I was going to target you. And I said to Ryan, you have to step up. And you have to be a target with me because we can help each other. So that's another thing too. Like I wasn't going to then throw Ryan in. I mean, the whole thing, it was the perfect storm for me to stand by a friend, make a great alliance with Laurel, take out just the two people that are absolutely no good for my game, and
make a huge splash.
It's what challenge dreams are made of. This is what, when you go to sleep at night, like I literally go to sleep every night and I'm like, that really happened. You know?
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, great. Like, I'm so happy, you know? And listen, I also like that they're releasing these behind the scenes, you know, deleted scenes, whatever, because there are such real relationships too in that house. Like, I consider you and I such a real friendship now. Aviv, like, there were just Jenny. Like, there are so many people that, Josh, there are so many people that I truly feel I had such a strong friendship with in that game. And that's also the special thing about a challenge. You know, when in your, you know, 40s, are you like living with people and bunking up with them and literally like listening to your guitar at 10:30 at night? But you know,
or in the morning. Or every hour in between.
But just like hanging out
and having real conversations.
This is the other thing, phone.
This is the other thing that that never makes it to air, or that I think a lot of people don't realize. We don't have phones. For 10 weeks.
I know.
10 weeks, you have no electronic device.
I know.
10 weeks, we don't know what is going on in the outside world. 10 weeks, the only form of communication we have is our mouths. And the amount of conversations and the amount that you get to know people and the amount that you know, like you said, establish bonds and establish connections with people. And I mean, it really is
It's really true. I mean, my wife is starting to realize it now, because she was like, so like to her, like before I went back on the challenge, she's like, that's trashy. You're not doing that. Like, you know? And then I was like, I promise you, it's a part of me and I've got to do it and you're going to go with it. And every single person that's kind of, you know, transferred into my real life, she absolutely loves. And my kids now, I mean, they know you, Aviv and my kids are best friends now. I mean, these are real relationships. Like, we're doing Thanksgiving together. It's like, I'm just saying, like, there is something very special about the challenge, and I don't see that, and I really do believe that it is 100% the only show where you will find this. You will never find another show where 15 years later, you and I can come together and find common ground after having such, you know, just kind of a pushback. And one of the reasons why probably we had such problems before is because I just wanted to go against the grain against you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were kind of the one that was like running it. So for me, it was like, oh no, like, you know, that's my grain I got to go against, you know?
But that's what makes you though.
But that's kind of like why I love the challenge, because I just love not doing what everyone else says I'm supposed to do. And so I've
always been the same way.
So, you know, there's a lot there's just a lot that's come out of this for me on a personal level. And I just could not be happier to represent my era the way that it ended up happening. And like Derek, I mean, you have to talk about Derek. He's the heart.
Yeah.
He's the heart. I mean,
is.
the fact that he looked across the table and said, I want you, Corey, because that's going to give her the best shot. There's not many people who do that. Like, you know, that was like, even when he said it, I got goosebumps. I was like, you are the kind of man that I love.
You can't beat a three-legged dog. Yeah. That was such a, such a good line.
And the way he said it and the way he looked at him and, you know, and Corey was just like so called out in that moment because he's so right. It's like, why are you even campaigning not to go in? He's pretty much like, can barely walk at this point, you know? And that's another thing I want to point out. It's, you know, the way that people, the attitudes they have before going in, the fact that all these people were just like so freaking out about the idea of them going into the arena, it's like, get over it.
Yeah.
Like, this is what the game is.
There's a sense of entitlement that comes, I think in Corey's...
I'm not talking about Corey. I'm talking more about this
I know, but I'm saying as it relates to Corey with the Derek thing, I think he just is so used to being able to rely on his social game and just skate by and never see an elimination. The fact that now he's seeing his second elimination, I think that really, you know, I think that was more of an affront to like his, I don't know, his stake in the game, his manhood, whatever you want to call it. Whereas now I think the reason that 3 and 4 are freaking out is because you have all of these master strategists, challenge competitors, this mega alliance, and they're looking at, I think, the position that they're in, and they're like, how the fuck did we end up here?
Yeah.
And I think that's more what it is than anything. It's like, if we go in against each other, this is such a reflection on what a terrible game we've played. I think that was the collective mindset that the Vacation Alliance had, was here we are patting ourselves on the back, you know, for being the smartest, most competent alliance, biggest alliance here. And we are now on the verge of completely imploding.
Absolutely. And I just want to side note say that I want to say you're welcome to America, that you never have to see that handshake again. Maybe not. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. But like, if I cringe when they do it.
So bad.
It is so bad. Oh. It's like, who's in charge of your PR?
No one.
Tell them to tell you to never do the Vacation Alliance handshake.
I think it's Devin. I think Devin's the head of the PR over there.
Well, listen.
It's wild.
Anyway, I think we've covered that. I think we've covered that topic.
Beat the Vacation Alliance horse to death.
Listen, I haven't, but like I said, I separate. I don't, and that's something I said with you, you know, you're always like, well, you know, some of your friends. Some of your friends have had trouble with me in the past and da-da-da-da. And I always said to you, listen, Johnny, like, I take you for what our relationship is, right? And that's the same way I look at the Vacation Alliance. Yes, they group each other together, but I don't group them together. To me, I have a relationship with Tori. I happen to really like Tori, and I happen to absolutely love Josh. So, you know, that's kind of like where I stand. I don't really, they group themselves together, but that doesn't mean I have to.
And that was the case. And again, I didn't know because we hadn't, you and I hadn't, you know, talked or been friends for so long that I've obviously had, you know, some hiccups with Tina in the past, also with Veronica. I know you guys are super close. I'm like, oh, does this mean because I don't get along with them that she doesn't? And you put that to bed real quick. But I agree with what you kind of just said, where I felt like I had my own relationship with Tori. I had my relationship with Josh. I had my relationship with Michelle.
Yeah.
And I was able to separate that from whatever I had going on with Devin. Unfortunately, it seems like that's not the case on you know, in reverse.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, if you...
Well, you can tell it by that conversation. Yeah. I mean, that was the manipulation in place.
Him basically saying, you're either against Bananas or you're against me.
Yeah. And like, you know, but like I said, you would hope, and I guess we'll wait and see what happens once you eliminate the head of the snake.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll all just scatter like rats under the floorboards. We talked about the elimination a little bit, but again, you know, Devin completely shit the bed. I think this really undermined, you know, this narrative he puts out there about being, you know, part of Mensa, more like Densa. But then when it came to Tori and Casey,
Yeah.
Did you have any?
Yes, I wanted Tori to win.
Okay.
I fished my wish on that one.
You
It
did.
was literally like watching my wish come true.
Mm-hmm.
I was up there watching and I was like, okay, once the men went, and you know, side note, one of my favorite parts of the episode is when Laurel comes and fist bumps me after Devin goes home.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that. She kind of comes over. I just think, you know, so rarely do we see women playing such a strategic game, especially two women together.
Yep.
So for me, I was like, I love that moment where she comes over and kind of fist bumps me. And then when watching Tori and Casey, once I saw Tori win, I was like, well, like, is it my birthday? Yeah. Is it my birthday today on the challenge? Did I just win the lottery of arenas?
You're a manifesting generator.
Clearly.
Is that what it's called? You manifested that.
Clearly. And
You
side
did that.
note, just to give other people just like shout outs, I happen to absolutely like overall just love Era 4 much more than Era 3. Like Era 3 to me was just a little bit painful.
Yeah.
You know, I love Olivia. I love Theo. I do like Michelle. I love Michelle, you know? And so there were just like so many people, and I love that Era 4 and Era 1 were able to work together, you know, on that Gladiator.
Me too.
That was a big, big, huge moment. And, you know, that's what I think is special about this season. Because people are there's so much going on and so many things are getting swiped under the rug, like all your amazing moments.
I
Johnny.
know.
But, you know.
Preaching to the choir.
But all of Johnny's conversations, you know.
I don't know why I'm on this season at this
Poor
point.
Johnny.
And next
poor
season,
Johnny.
I'm literally going to go on. I'm going to be like, you guys pay me a lot of fucking money to basically just edit me out of everything on the show. So maybe I'll just go on and just sleep the entire season.
Well, you do that a lot, by the way.
I'll get more. I'll probably get more fucking more storylines.
Let's not talk about what time Johnny actually gets out of bed.
Well, I'm off the melatonin though. That was I blame melatonin for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, anyway, my point was that's why we have a season like this, because there's something cool about seeing, you know, an Era 1 and an Era 4 come together to try to make something happen in the game.
Yep.
And, you know, I just think there's something really special about this season. I don't think, you know, good luck, 41. I wish you well. Maybe I'll be there. Maybe I won't.
And now we are the big plot twist, and this could not have come at a more appropriate moment, especially for you, being because you're like, I'm gonna do this again.
Yeah.
We're all individuals now.
I know.
It's an individual game.
It's like literally happy birthday to me.
Yep. Yeah.
You know.
Amazing. I mean, it was like you had your mic drop moment.
And I kind of
dropped the bomb on the game. You dropped such a huge bomb on the game. You blew up all the other eras too.
I know. And you know what? I also know, and I know because you told me this, that even you got excited like to play now.
What?
You were like, listen, you just made this real exciting.
Yes.
So, you know, I also just side note, because I just want to really drive the knife in. I was so happy that Devin had to watch the game go individual.
So great, right?
You know what I mean? Just like right when everyone was kind of like, it was all said and done, and now guess what? And it's true. My ending remark was the absolute truth. Had that move not been made, we all would have been just having to work with people that maybe we didn't want to, or you know, people or America would have had to stomach once again, like people just safely riding till the end because they had numbers. And I am just so happy with the way that this one turned out. And I would like to thank the challenge gods. Whatever I did for you in the past, whatever I've done, I love you. And please continue to bless me.
And anyone who has any doubts about the way this season is going to go, I think we're like the Alamo. I feel like you and I are the Alamo at this point when it comes to the only thing standing in the way of this Vacation Alliance 3 and 4, basically running the show.
Yes,
is we're
here to save the day. Give us capes at this point.
We are Captain Save-A-Shows.
Yes,
the captains have arrived.
Hashtag I am the challenge.
It's a good hashtag. All right. Well, Rachel, absolute pleasure having you on.
I know.
Could have done this all day. But
I love you so much. I can't help it.
Come
can't
here.
help
Bring
it.
it in.
Don't tell too many people.
Yeah, you stop. We got to edit this part out.
I really got to keep up my, I got to keep up my anti-bananas.
Yeah.
Fucking, shit.
You're about to get lit up in the comments.
Oh, I come for me, bro.
Yeah.
Come for me.
I'm the same way.
Like, it gets me excited. Haven't you already noticed that?
I want everybody out there to know. Tweet at me all you want. Leave whatever comments you want. You're not going to get a response. The only place I'm going to respond to you is right here. And I know that my biggest haters, and yours too, you don't have that many, but I do. They're actually
I might after this
fans in disguise. Yeah. Yeah. So, Rachel, for those who aren't already following you and all your amazing adventures, where can they find you?
Well, so listen, you can all follow me on Instagram. I really do use Instagram the most, Rachel_fitness. And every morning, weekday morning at 6:30 a.m., I do a live full body 30-minute workout. So for anyone who wants to work out with me, you can come right there. And I can show you why I can hang the longest.
6:30 a.m. I mean, yes. 6:30 Eastern?
Yes.
Okay.
6:30 Eastern. And basically how it works is I have a platform. So rachelfitness.com, if anybody wants to go on and check out my subscription platform. I started it during COVID and it kind of took off. And I basically have thousands and thousands of workouts up there, meal plans, anything you could want to get into shape. And I do believe that, you know about working out. I mean, it is basically the serum to youth.
It is.
So
cheat code.
Basically why you and I still look 25 and can still hang with 25-year-olds.
Well, that, and I'm not married and I don't have kids. I think that
we're going to work on that. I'm working on that with you because you're too good. You love women too much to not do that.
I do, but I just love my freedom as well, though.
Yeah, well, listen, I still do the challenge. I'm still traveling around.
Yeah, I know.
It does put like, you are kind of, but you're going to do it.
You know what they say? Listen, one of my favorite all-time quotes from a movie, Shawshank Redemption. Morgan Freeman says, after Andy Dufresne escapes from Shawshank, he goes, "Some birds' feathers are too colorful to be kept in cages." I think that's me.
I like that.
I'm Andy Dufresne.
I mean, listen, it's definitely no one was selling you on it, especially from Era One after their trauma stories. But, fun
again,
times.
Rachel, love you to death. Thank you for stopping by the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, where the tea flows like wine and my guests instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm Oprah, and I love you.
I love you too.
Love you more.